There are truths no one wants to hear, because once you understand them, you can never see the world the same way again. Attraction, the magnetic pull that connects us, is not an act of love or beauty, it's power. It's the hidden language that moves the human mind, what Carl Jung described as the call of the unconscious seeking completion through another. But what most people ignore is that this impulse, when misunderstood, becomes the most sophisticated weapon of manipulation ever created. I'm Melkor Huamán, an expert in persuasion, manipulation, and dark psychology. Here in this space called Invisible Power, I'm not here to sugarcoat your mind with motivational quotes. We're here to look into the darkness that lives within us, to understand it and use it to our advantage. Because whoever doesn't understand their shadow lives forever enslaved by it. Sexual attraction doesn't arise from purity. It arises from emptiness, from a deep emotional void that projects onto others the illusion of wholeness. Jung called it the projection of the shadow. Robert Cialdini translated it into his principles of influence: reciprocity, commitment, scarcity, authority, liking, and social proof. Everything that attracts us stands upon those invisible forces that shape behavior. It isn't magic, it's programming. Every word, every glance, every gesture is a calculated signal that reprograms the human brain. Edward Bernays understood this better than anyone. People don't think, they feel. And whoever controls what people feel governs what they think. Since childhood, we've been conditioned to seek approval. What Jung described as the archetype of the lover becomes a battlefield where desire and fear fight for control. Toxic people dominate that field with surgical precision. They are masters at using your need to be seen to make you dependent. They employ intermittent reinforcement, described by B.F. Skinner as an emotional drug. They give you a dose of affection, then they withdraw it, and your mind enters withdrawal. You return again and again seeking that spark, unaware that you are trapped in a psychological loop. I've seen strong men destroy themselves for a woman who knew exactly how to pull the strings of desire. I've seen intelligent women fall under the spell of a man who seemed like their savior, but who was merely following Machiavelli's playbook, appear virtuous while plotting control. Emotional manipulation doesn't always come from malice. Sometimes it comes from fear, trauma, or an unconscious need for validation. And that's what makes it so powerful. Sexual attraction in its purest form doesn't seek pleasure, it seeks symbolic domination. Jung explained it as the attempt of anima and animus to integrate what is missing. But in practice, that integration becomes a power game. Who yields, who controls, who owns the final validation? If you observe carefully, you'll notice that seduction always has a hidden winner, the one who makes the other invest more. Emotionally or mentally, is the one who controls the bond. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince, he spoke about ruling kingdoms. But what few understood is that his book was also a manual for emotional domination. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, he wrote. In human relationships, that translates into a simple formula. The one who creates uncertainty holds power. Kevin Dutton, in his study of functional psychopaths, proved that many leaders and seducers share similar traits: cold charisma, selective empathy, and extreme emotional control. They are not monsters, they are strategists. Aldous Huxley warned that the time would come when people would love their own servitude. That time has already arrived. Today we give away our attention, privacy, and desire without resistance. We do it in exchange for dopamine, validation, and small illusions of connection. Social media is the new Zimbardo lab, and we are the experimental subjects. Every like reinforces our conditioning. Every story we post feeds the mirror of approval. And the more we show, the emptier we become inside. But there's a way out. It's not about running from the darkness. It's about facing it and learning to use it. Dark psychology isn't a weapon for destruction, but a tool for awareness. If you know how manipulation works, you'll never be its victim again. If you understand why certain patterns attract you, you can finally break them. Sun Tzu said that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. In this case, the enemy isn't outside, it's within you. Here's the truth most people can't face. The majority don't seek emotional freedom. They seek emotional control over others. They want to seduce so they won't feel empty, manipulate so they won't be manipulated, dominate so they'll never be hurt again. That's the root of the darkest form of attraction. But once you understand it, You can transform it into power, not power to enslave, but power to choose consciously with whom you share your energy. At its core, all seduction begins with an inner story, the story of what you believe you deserve. If you believe you only have value when someone desires you, you'll live as a slave to the desires of others. But if you learn to generate attraction from authenticity, your presence becomes magnetic without effort. That is the essence of true invisible power, the mastery of influence without the need for imposition. So pause for a moment and look inward. Ask yourself, to whom are you giving your attention, your desire, your power? Because wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. And whoever controls your attention controls your life. This is where the journey begins. I've learned that toxic people are not born to destroy. They are born desperate to control. Control is their way of feeling safe. When they fear abandonment, they manipulate. When they fear rejection, they strike first. And when they encounter genuine love, they panic. Because real love demands vulnerability, and that is something they cannot give. They disguise fear as power, charm, and seduction. But deep down, their greatest terror is to be seen for who they truly are. The traits of these people repeat with mathematical precision. Robert D. Hare called it the psychopathic spectrum: superficial charm, egocentrism, lack of remorse, constant need for stimulation, emotional manipulation, and absence of empathy. But what Hare didn't emphasize enough was the functional level. Many of the manipulators you meet aren't criminals. They are successful professionals, charismatic leaders, or charming lovers. They are wolves dressed in light. They've calibrated their mask so perfectly that even they no longer remember who they were before they built it. Kevin Dutton described them as the wise psychopaths, individuals who understand emotions without feeling them. Their greatest advantage is emotional coldness. Where others collapse, they calculate. Where others feel guilt, they analyze. Where others freeze, they act. And that calm, that artificial serenity is hypnotic. The human brain reads composure as dominance. The more unshakable someone seems amid chaos, the more authority we subconsciously give them. That's the foundation of the most subtle manipulation, the control of rhythm. Toxic people manipulate timing. They make you wait for their replies. They delay affection. They ration attention. It's not random, it's deliberate. Your brain becomes conditioned to intermittent reinforcement. Skinner's experiments proved it long ago. The behavior that's hardest to extinguish is the one rewarded unpredictably. One dose of warmth, then silence. One kiss, then distance. You start craving the next reward like a drug. You don't need substances when someone controls your emotions. Paul Ekman, the master of micro-expressions, found that even the best liar betrays themselves for a fraction of a second. But the most advanced manipulators master even their physiology. They control breathing, tone, eye contact, and posture. They understand that silence is often more persuasive than words. A manipulator doesn't convince you by logic. They convince you by emotion. They make you feel something powerful: admiration, guilt, attraction, fear. And that emotion becomes your prison. Dale Carnegie said, "The fastest way to influence someone is to make them feel important." Toxic people know this instinctively. They make you feel seen, understood, special. They reflect your virtues, exaggerate your light, and feed your ego until you depend on their approval. They don't love you. They love the energy you emit when you're reflected in their eyes. When that energy fades, they withdraw affection, criticize, or humiliate. And in that cycle of reward and punishment, they own you. Philip Zimbardo proved that under the right conditions, anyone can become either an oppressor or a victim. Toxicity doesn't always come from outside. Often it awakens within us. We all manipulate to some extent. We all try to shape others according to our expectations. The difference lies in awareness. The manipulator does it deliberately. You do it from your wound. There are early signs that can save you from being drained by these people. Watch for patterns, not promises. The person who seems too perfect hides something. The one who constantly plays the victim is looking for accomplices, not love. The one who needs to remind you how much they care is afraid you'll see the truth. Authentic people don't need to prove their authenticity. They simply live it. Robert Greene, in the 48 Laws of Power, warned of the danger of being too available. Familiarity breeds contempt. Manipulators invert this rule. They maintain strategic distance, forcing you to chase them. They use mystery as bait. Cialdini calls it the principle of scarcity. The rarer something appears, the more value it gains. In relationships, the one who appears less available often holds control. I've seen this pattern countless times. A manipulative woman knows exactly how much to reveal. She uses vulnerability as a weapon, not as truth. She shares her pain with the precision of an actress who knows exactly when to make you empathize. A manipulative man, on the other hand, uses silence as his blade. He lets you talk, confess, expose your soul, until you have nothing left to protect yourself with. Both pursue the same thing: emotional control. The real defense is not coldness, but consciousness. Once you understand the principles of dark psychology, you begin to see the entire game. You realize that every reaction you give is a move the other can exploit. Observation becomes your shield. The first form of power is silent awareness. When a manipulator provokes you, their strength depends on your need to prove yourself. If you don't need to win, you already have. If their indifference no longer affects you, they lose. If you don't crave validation, you disarm them completely. Emotional control isn't about dominating others, it's about not being dominated. Sun Tzu said, "Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will not fear 100 battles." The enemy here is invisible. It hides within your fear of rejection, your need for validation, your addiction to attention. But once you see it, the game collapses. Manipulation only works when there's an open wound to exploit. Heal the wound and no one can control you again. There are practical strategies to apply today. Don't react impulsively. Observe the words of others as data, not truth. Don't seek approval, but provide value. Don't chase attention. Become scarce. Learn to read patterns instead of emotions. Most importantly, fight not for attention, but for clarity. Dark psychology isn't about controlling others. It's about ending the control they have over you. When you master your attention, you starve parasitic minds of your energy. When you consciously choose where to invest your presence, your power becomes untouchable. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most people, because most don't want to see the game. They just want to feel good. But you came here to awaken. The moment I understood the power that the mind holds over emotion, I realized that all manipulation begins with one unconscious choice: allowing others to define your value. That is the root of every emotional dependency. No one can control you if you need nothing from them. That's why the first step to using dark psychology ethically is not mastering others. It's mastering yourself. Self-control. It sounds simple, but it holds within it the oldest battle known to man. In my experience, true mental mastery is not about suppressing what you feel, but governing what you express. The difference between a manipulator and a sage lies in intention. Both understand the same mechanisms, but the manipulator uses them to consume energy, while the sage uses them to protect it. Start small, with silence. Most people speak out of anxiety, not necessity. In a conversation, the one who talks less sees more. The one who observes more understands more. And the one who understands more holds power. Not because they manipulate, but because they choose their moves consciously. Words only have value when silence has weight. Every morning before I check my phone or answer messages, I practice 3 minutes of pure observation. I watch my thoughts without judgment, just awareness. During those 3 minutes, I become the witness of my impulses. Sometimes I notice my mind seeking approval. Other times I find my ego craving control. The moment I see it, I'm no longer its slave. That single habit has changed the way I interact with the world. Another exercise I teach is mastering the gaze. It's not about intimidating, it's about presence. The gaze is one of the oldest languages of power. It conveys dominance, confidence, or insecurity before any word is spoken. When you learn to look without seeking approval, you project silent power. Robert Greene calls it the art of selective attention, looking just enough to connect, but never enough to give away your energy. At the emotional level, there's a law that never fails. Whoever needs to convince already lacks authority. The most magnetic energy is the one that doesn't seek to attract, but simply is. Observe the most influential people. They rarely ask for anything directly. They evoke desire through behavior, not words. That's dark psychology applied ethically, creating movement without force. From now on, train a skill that most ignore: emotional calibration. Before reacting to any stimulus, ask yourself, Does this give me power or take it away? If it takes it away, remain silent. If it gives you power, act. Not out of anger, but strategy. Every conscious action reinforces your mind. Every impulsive reaction weakens it. In this world, there will always be people trying to use your emotions to steer you. Your task is not to build walls, but to develop filters. Not everything that glitters is connection, and not everything that hurts is attack. Sometimes life sends you manipulators just to show you the cracks through which your energy still leaks. Every toxic person you meet is a mirror, showing you where your boundaries need strengthening. To break those cycles, you need 3 invisible weapons: attention, observation, and distance. Attention to notice patterns. Observation to pause before reacting. Distance to preserve clarity. These 3 together make you almost untouchable. Not cold, not detached, but unshakably calm. Remember this: self-control is not repression, it's redirection. It's not about killing emotion, but channeling it. Anger can become strength. Desire can become focus. Sadness can become depth. The mind that knows how to transform emotion never loses. But knowledge is not enough. You must train. Without daily practice, your mind slips back into automation. So I invite you to something different. If you're here listening to these words, it's because something inside you already knows that you're meant for more. This channel, Invisible Power, exists for that reason. Subscribe now and walk this path with me. The path of conscious manipulation, emotional mastery, and self-governance. Not to become feared, but to become untouchable. Imagine living in equilibrium. No one defines your worth, no word wounds you, no silence disturbs your peace. To reach that level requires discipline. Each night before sleeping, review your day and ask yourself, where did I give away my power? To a person? To an emotion? To a belief that wasn't mine? Identify it and reclaim it. Every night you do, you take back a piece of yourself. When you apply dark psychology with awareness, you stop being a manipulator and become a strategist. You move consciously through a world obsessed with control, without losing your center. You master energy, but not through ego, through clarity. And when you reach that state, your presence alone speaks. You no longer need to impress, prove, or win. You simply are. Then comes the moment when everything aligns, when you realize love isn't submission, attraction isn't dependence, and silence isn't weakness. It's mastery. The one who can stand alone without fear will never be a slave to anyone. And when that happens, the world around you shifts. Those who thrive on chaos drift away. Those who carry power gravitate toward you. Because invisible power isn't something you chase. It's something you radiate. I've come to understand that the true darkness doesn't lie in others. It hides within our own fear of seeing ourselves. We're terrified to admit that most of our choices don't come from love, but from the urge to control pain. Everything we do, every word, every gesture, every pursuit, is a response to fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of not being loved. Fear of disappearing without meaning. And that fear, when ignored, becomes the root of all manipulation. I've watched people build emotional empires out of fear. Men conquering women only to validate their worth. Women shaping men just to feel safe. Parents controlling children under the illusion of love. Religions sculpting minds with promises of redemption. In every story, the pattern remains. Power over others is a desperate attempt to fill a void that can only be healed from within. Carl Jung said it with brutal clarity. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Dark psychology is not a collection of tricks. It's the most honest mirror your soul can face. It shows you what you'd rather deny. Your hunger for control, your need for admiration, your obsession with being right, your craving to feel special. If you don't confront those shadows, they rule you. But once you face them, once you accept them, they become strength. Mastery over oneself isn't achieved overnight. It's a silent war between instinct and consciousness. There will be times when you fail, when an emotion takes over, when a reaction escapes your mouth before your reason catches it. That's fine. Every fall is part of training. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. To know why you did what you did, because once you know, it no longer owns you. Serenity is not the absence of chaos, it's clarity within it. The human mind will always chase pleasure and run from pain, but the awakened soul learns to use both as tools. Pleasure as energy, pain as a teacher. When you can observe your emotions without judging them, you enter a level of power very few will ever touch. You're no longer the effect of the world. You become its cause. The greatest challenge is not mastering others, it's mastering your inner dialogue. Because whatever you repeat inside your mind becomes your reality. If your thoughts are filled with fear, you'll attract those who feed on it. If they're filled with need, you'll attract those who exploit it. But if your inner world is filled with presence, clarity, and direction, your energy itself becomes a filter, repelling everything that doesn't resonate. We live in an age where attention is the new currency. Whoever controls your attention controls your mind, and whoever controls your mind controls your life. That's why the ultimate act of rebellion is not to shout. It's to choose silently where your energy goes. Every time you decide not to react, you break a chain. Every time you choose silence over confrontation, you rebuild your power. Every time you choose to understand instead of judge, you gain ground over yourself. Remember this, manipulation cannot exist without permission. No one can dominate you unless they find within you the exact place to press. That's your responsibility, to know yourself so deeply that no spell, no word, no charm can penetrate you. That's true freedom. Not the kind that depends on others, but the one that radiates from your core. And now, I leave you with a question, one that might echo long after this video ends. Who would you become if you stopped reacting to others and started acting only from your highest consciousness? Don't answer too quickly. Feel it, because the way you answer that question defines the kind of power you'll carry for the rest of your life. When you finally understand this, you stop seeing dark psychology as something sinister and start seeing it as a map of the human soul. Power doesn't live in dominance or submission, but in balance, in the courage to look at both light and shadow and say, "This too is me." And when that moment comes, when you can stand in your own center without masks, without seeking approval, without fearing rejection, that's when true invisible power begins.